getting ready to can homemade pork and beans. I use Great Northern large white bean. Navy beans are a little smaller, but I used Great Northern this time for my pork and beans. And we're chopping up an onion here, and we'll use this and a salt port when we go to fill the jars. I'll leave the recipe I used in the description below. Now I have the chopped onions, I have tomato juice that I canned, I have the sugar, salt, I have allspice and cloves. Okay, I washed the beans, placed them in a stock pot and brought water up above the beans about 2 inches, brought it to a boil and simmered for 2 minutes. We let them set for an hour, rinsed them, repeat the process, but we let them simmer for 3 minutes. Now we'll get the tomato juice to start getting hot so we can add the spices to it here in a little bit. I have my jars in the canner where they're staying hot, so they'll be ready to be filled. And the beans are ready to be put in the jars. I have the tomato juice up front there, and we're going to be adding these spices here to it. Our sugar, salt, and our clove and allspice. We have our salt pork cut up and ready to put in the jars. We've added our spices to the tomato juice. We're stirring it constantly to make sure it all becomes dissolved. And we're going to bring this up to a boil or simmer, and as it simmers, dissolving, I'll turn out the fire and it'll be plenty hot to add to these pork and beans. You want to make sure your jars are hot, your product you're putting in it is hot, so you don't take a chance of breaking a jar, putting something cold in a hot jar or something hot in a cold jar. Now I fill these to about 3/4 full with beans, and then I'll add a little bit of onion and a little bit of salt pork in it before I put the liquid on it. Now we'll ladle the tomato sauce mixture into it up to 1 inch headspace. Leave a 1 inch headspace. Now you want to get the air bubbles out. I just take a plastic knife and go around it, making sure all the bubbles come up. And if it needs to, you can add some more sauce to it. We have to add a little bit of tomato sauce to it, our mixture. And then we wipe the rim off of it. Make sure it's clean. I use vinegar and paper towel to wipe off the edge. Place our lid on there and our ring and finger snug. And then we place it in the canner. Now we'll get another jar out. It'll come over here, we'll fill it, and we'll go through this process until they're all filled. Once they're filled, we place all of them in the pressure canner and process them for 75 minutes, which is 1 hour and 15 minutes, at 10 pounds of pressure going by the weighted gauge. So the pressure and time is what it calls for in my area, where I'm little below 1,000 feet. If you're new to canning, please go by your recommendations by your USDA and National Center for Home Food Preservation. Please do your research when you're canning. So we like to have pork and beans from time to time. Also, this is the base of what we use to make baked beans when Christmas, Thanksgiving, or when we're smoking meat, barbecuing and grilling. This is the base of our baked beans anyway. Now be sure you wipe the rims of these jars with vinegar on a paper towel or cloth and get all the grease or anything there off of there so them lids will seal when you're processing them. This is just a simple, easy recipe. These turned out really good. Tasted great. Get this one in the canner and I'll be right back after we get the canner loaded. Okay, you want to make sure there's water in the bottom of your canner. I think mine calls for 3 quarts or 3 inches of water, but whatever your canner calls for. Place the lid on it, twist it, lock it in, and turn the heat up. When steam starts coming out the vent, time it for 10 minutes. And then we got a lock here to pop up when the pressure's high enough. Now you don't go by the gauge when you're using the weighted gauge, which will go over this vent. After 10 minutes of venting, we place our weighted gauge. You see it rocking there. And we're going to be doing this for an hour and 15 minutes on these jars. Okay, it's been an hour and 15 minutes. We let it cool down until the lock drop and all the pressure's off of it. And then we release the lid and lift it away from you when you raise up the lid so no steam will get in your face. Now I've let them set for about 10 minutes and then I bring them out and I'll set them over on the counter on a soft towel and let them cool and undisturbed for 12 to 18 hours. You know, if we're grilling hot dogs and hamburgers, we may have pork and beans to go along with it. The thing about these pork and beans, they're a good base for making baked beans. Hey, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope you consider subscribing. I want to thank each and every one for watching. Have a great day.